What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and this right here is a handgun that most people have never shot. In fact, I can guarantee the majority of people have never even picked up this handgun. This right here is the FN 503. This is a product that has been discontinued by FN, but you can still find them around the internet for about $450 or used around $400. Now, this was a single stack that was late to the game like CZ, right? FN brought it extremely late to the single stack market. They were already in production. They were already, working on this handgun's release when the SIG P365 came out, right? So it immediately made this handgun irrelevant to people. Now, what I say is if FN, they already released the Reflex, if they made the FN 503 double stack, it would be game over, right? This lacks capacity in most people's minds, but in my opinion, it still plays a role with how small this handgun is, how reliable it is, and, I've really enjoyed this handgun. If you've watched my channel, this was one of my main carries for a while. It was something I carried at work about 55 to 60 hours per week doing new construction plumbing. Obviously, it took a beating, but through everything, it's ran 100% reliable. I have a shooting review up on the channel and everything as well. This thing right here, like I said, lacks capacity. So we're sitting at 6+1 like the average single stack. If you drop the mag, do a mag change real quick, we're sitting at 8+1. And it feels really good in the hand. The one thing I will say, though, if you do pick one up, it is extremely skinny. And that's the point of it. It's supposed to be so dang thin that it just disappears in your pocket. For me, it was too skinny this way and too wide this way to the point where I had to put a whole grip on it. And now this thing is extremely ergonomic in the hand. It feels really good. And if you guys are wondering, this is the Ruger Security 9 grip. If you do the overall surface area measurements, this is about the same as a Security 9, which is thicker but thinner here, right? So it ended up working out really well. Everything functions on this handgun properly, even with that hoe grip. One thing I'll say about the FN 503 is it's one of my most reliable handguns. And the reason is when I do work, as a new construction plumber, we're digging undergrounds. We're drilling holes. There's glue, primer, wood shavings, rock, dirt, getting into your pockets. At the end of the day, when I go home, stuff comes out of my pockets that I've never seen before. You're just like, where the heck did this stuff come from? Well, I always tell this story to tell you guys about the FN 503's reliability. We went up to my aunt's tree farm, and I didn't clean this thing for like 2 weeks. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to let these hollow points go, see how it does, and let it run. While shooting, I watched a little pebble shoot out of the firearm. I watched dust, sawdust, whatever the case may be, go everywhere. And I thought that was an absolute testament of how reliable this handgun is. Now, obviously, from that point on, I cleaned it more often. But it ran flawlessly, even in those conditions. It was almost like a mini torture test, just from how long I went without cleaning it, which obviously isn't good. But, at the same time, I knew this handgun was reliable. But once again, clean your handguns, guys. The finish held up absolutely flawlessly. I carried this for about 3 years in my pocket. And all we have is some holster wear, a little bit of holster wear up here, and some up front. A couple dings here and there. Couple dents on the frame here and there. And yeah, about 2 years ago, I was actually on a 6-foot ladder. It was about 4 in the morning, and I was up against a stud. Well, that stud was not nailed in, but it was still in place. So once I got to the top of my ladder, I flew backwards, ladder and stud went forward. The handgun with a round in the chamber in my pocket, in a pocket holster, is what I landed on. I had a massive bruise on my thigh like this for, a couple months because I landed on this handgun. It didn't go off. It didn't go bang. On top of that, I wasn't even nervous that it was going to go off. But that just goes to show you how reliable something like this is for work carry, being active, being around your children, considering your children are at waist height and you're carrying appendix or 3 o'clock, right? So this handgun has proved itself to me over and over again in ridiculous conditions, like I just said, falling from a ladder 6 feet in the air. That's an amazing test. Now, do it with a staccato, do it with a P320. You know what I mean? You are going to have a round go off. So that was absolutely awesome, especially knowing I work with other people. That was just another ensuring situation about this handgun that I know it's going to be reliable as well as safe. Now, no rail, but they do actually make some of these with an integrated laser into them, which is actually a pretty cool feature. On top of that, like I said, an amazing finish. For how much this handgun was carried in moisture, in snow, in rain, while digging, it held up extremely, extremely well. Comes with 3-dot sights, just simple white sights, no night sights, but they do make night sight pictures for this, obviously. But what I like about it is it's so sleek. There's nothing sticking out. There's nothing that's going to get caught in the pocket or anything like that. The takedown lever is actually pretty dang sick. It works so well, it's in the perfect spot and releases really well. When you're shooting, this is a 3-inch barrel, so your thumb really does get close to the end, but it's not the biggest problem in the world. You can put it downward or pull it back just a tad bit. The texturing is flawless on the FN. The FN has pretty dang good texturing. Like I said, I just wanted a wider handgun. There's no forward serrations. It's not optics ready. It doesn't have a rail. Like I said, if you want a laser or something like that, they do make an integrated version of this handgun. Trigger. First of all, it racks like butter, but that's also because this has about 3,000 rounds through it, and it's just been absolutely great and solid the whole way. Little spongy, but crisp and clean. I mean, this is like a 4-pound trigger out of the box. But with that long trigger pull, it's never going to accidentally get pulled in self-defense. Long reset, but once again, this is a defensive pistol, right? And another thing that FN bragged about when they made this pistol was the fact that it comes with a metal trigger. Majority of the handguns you're seeing nowadays are all polymer triggers. I don't see why they were bragging about it. I don't see anything special about it. But to be honest, it does feel really good in the hand. If you have smaller hands, this is not the handgun for you because it's extremely wide this way. And by the time you get out to that trigger, you're almost at the end of your fingers. So if you have medium-sized hands or below, you might want to just go out and feel this thing first before you actually pull the trigger and purchase it. But everything about this handgun I've loved, thought was great. And honestly, I might put it back into my work rotation. That's it sitting in my hand at 6+1. And then this is it at 8+1. Now, the reason I can justify that capacity is if you do run it without the hoe grip, it's an extremely skinny handgun. So you can conceal it extremely well. It's going to be extremely comfortable. And there are many holster options out there. I'll compare it right now to my current work carry. Let's see how bad a condition this thing's in. Yep, got a little gunked up today. I'll clean it though. And I'll compare them with the flush mags because I think that makes more sense, both being 6+1. That's the footprint with the Glock 43. Obviously, it's got a much taller slide, or maybe just a little bit. Not super big difference, but 6+1 on the right, 6+1 on the left. So basically the same as a Glock 43. But the number one thing this handgun has going for it, other than reliability, the fact that it's extremely safe, is the fact that it ran every single hollow point I've ever put through it. And the testing I've done on this handgun has been extensive. A good chunk of the amount of rounds I put through it compared to other handguns, the percentage of hollow points that I put through this are an extremely high number compared to, for say, a Stoker that I've been shooting or my G3C. This, I just continuously put hollow points through it because I would recycle my carry ammo because it would get so wet and moist from being carried in my pocket all the time. I kept recycling that ammo. And this thing just ran and ran and ran. It's honestly a really solid solid pickup. If you find one, like I said, they are discontinued. It's going to be pretty hard. But if you do see one, give it a chance. Take it shooting if you can. If your local range is a rental, which I doubt, it's actually a pretty dang solid handgun. If it goes bang, that's the point. It could be a backup. It could be a pocket pistol, a get-off-me gun. I'll show you compared to an LCP Max real quick. And on top of that, this is probably the flattest shooting single stack that's on the market. Let's go ahead and check it out. LCP Max on the right, 10+1 of 380 versus 6+1 on the left. So obviously it's much bigger. But like I said, it's in 9mm and is extremely flat shooting. The FM503, in my opinion, is a great gun. They just need to make the double stack edition. Thanks for watching, guys.